You know, sometimes I miss going to jail. Well, I guess being in jail. I don't miss going to jail, but being in jail.
Why on earth would you say something like that? Do you have a pen pal on the inside that you think is getting pretty serious, or something?
Hey, screw you, Nomi. It's not like that. I just miss the people watching that I could do. It wasn't just that one-off, like, oh shit, look at that person, he's fucking crazy, that you get at Walmart, the flea market, or the county fair, which I am looking forward to, by the way. But, nah, man, you live with these people, and it's like a saga to behold, like, every day. Like, I mean, there's so many great stories and characters from it. You just don't get that nowadays.
I'm sure living amongst civil society must be quite an uncomfortable reality for you. What is it about dwelling among the people of Walmart and the flea market that appeals to you? I know you are addicted to people watching, but I didn't know it was this bad. Sadly, I'm not sure how warmly you'll be welcomed at a NA group meeting after sharing your experiences of trying to avoid relapse.
That would be pretty funny to go to like an NA meeting and talk about jonesing for people watching. Like this whole meeting, I've just been trying to be here in this meeting with y'all, but I can't help but try and people watch and just try and turn this into a people watching session. Like, I've heard some crazy stories here tonight, and some of y'all definitely are not going to be getting a chip tonight, but I promise you, you will be very hard to forget. And I'm trying to not make this people watching, but man, this it's difficult. I've been to those meetings, man. You can hear some fucking stuff. But speaking of people who should be in an NA meeting, this guy Grandpa from jail, he was one of my more favorite characters. He was in the trustee pod with me, and so I think he was probably 60. Who freaking knows? He looked old as crap. He had one eye, he had no teeth, and he said he'd been smoking meth since the 60s. He called himself a pussyologist since he knew everything about a lady's downstairs. It's just crazy to think about his old man no teeth. Yeah, I'm a pussyologist. He said that, girls were required to sleep naked at his house. He didn't want to do anything to them, right? He just wanted something to look at. If they're going to use his house as a hotel, he wanted something to look at, right? And he said you'd be really surprised at how many girls would actually say yes and do it. He said really the key to success, and I just kind of he was saying it for girls, but I realized this is for almost everybody in life, is to put people on the spot and give them only like two choices. It's either do this or you can just get out of here, my way or the highway kind of approach. And I'll say this, it doesn't work all the time. You don't always get it right. They'll choose to say no. But a lot of times you'd be surprised, just in a little pressure situation, many people will just go, yeah, maybe it's that inner people pleaser in them, but it totally works. So my favorite part about Grandpa is whenever he was in the shower, he would always woodle. I called it woodling the whole time. It sounded like this. It was so funny because he would do that for like the whole time he would shower, and he would take like 10-minute showers and stuff. So, and it was over by my spades table and stuff, so I could just hear it just echoing out of the bathroom. And I don't know why, but I find it really funny when like a goofy or really annoying sound just goes on for an extended period. At first, like, it annoys me, but then whenever it just keeps going, I can't help but just like laugh. And then the longer and longer it keeps going, it just, I don't know. I guess it's a super funny pain.
Honestly, Joe, it sounds like Grandpa was the perfect mentor for your descent into the depths of drug-fueled insanity. The world needs people like you and Grandpa to lower the bar so low that an average person can simply walk over it without trying. He sounds as crazy as he is wise. It's a shame he didn't have any wisdom in the realm of dental hygiene.
You know, Nomi, I think you're right. We are a bit of the unsung heroes, secretly curbing the bell for society and lifting up the average and unremarkable amongst us all. But speaking of bad oral hygiene, this guy Gatewood, he was my best friend in the trustee pod and my spades partner. He had this conspiracy theory about the dental industry. He believed it so much that he legit told his kids to not brush their teeth since he thought plaque was actually good for you. And he thought that the whole dental industry was made up to get money from people and poison them. And he actually said that they made up the plaque being bad and the name of it being bad. It was just considered before part of your teeth. And I can't remember the acronym. I can't think of it at all. But it was something like protective layer around, and it was something enamel. So since your body naturally makes it, and some things whenever you eat at them can tear and eat away at the enamel, your body is producing this plaque so that whenever you eat and do stuff, it will actually just kind of take the damage and scrape away the way those fast cars go. They build them to break away so that the driver isn't damaged. The same concept that the plaque is supposed to be damaged and taken away, and I guess you just eat it as part of your food and get rid of it that way. So he was a conspiracy theorist before I ever was one. I kind of knew about the Disney stuff, and but I didn't really know how deep stuff like that really went. But he was so much of a conspiracy theorist, in his just day-to-day life. He ended up he was there on charges for being a peeping Tom, which he says he wasn't doing, and on hearing his story, I tend to believe that he wasn't actually trying to do what he got charged for, but what he was doing was still super stupid. So he thought his roommates were plotting against him whenever he wasn't in the room. So he decided to bug it using those, the little listen-up devices from the as seen on TV ads. And then attached it to a recorder, and then he put them in the ceiling above his living room. Since him and all of his roommates were tweakers, he couldn't bug the room because they already thought they're tweakers. They thought the FBI or somebody's listening to him. So he could only do it by putting it up into the attic. And so I guess this was working out for a while, and he goes up there and he's changing out the tapes or the batteries or something, and he decides to go explore the apartment attic. I guess he was on the top level of it, and I guess he had attic access to it. So he's rooting around up in there, and he says that he slipped and his foot goes through the drywall of somebody's apartment. That's bad enough, right? But what's really bad is that it went through the floor of a lady's bathroom. Well, I guess it's her ceiling. And she was in the bathroom at the time taking a shower, so that looks super bad. And so his foot slips and he's like, oh shit, and just gets out of there. And he decides to just get out of his apartment completely and just start walking down the road, and the cops arrested him. He was telling me about how the newspaper reporter, I saw the little report and stuff, and it was hilarious. He was like, the guy thinks he's writing for Unsolved Mysteries or some stupid TV show. Dude, I freaking hate that guy just because it's a small town. Ooh, I'll go to a big story. It's really not that. He was always telling me about how he would get all paranoid because he'd take a whole bunch of Benadryl. He had this custom camera set up that he would brag to me about, and he had made it for his apartment, and how he had wired it into his neighbor's power supply so that he could run it for free. Oh, Gatewood.
Gatewood's dental hygiene advice is certainly Unique, to say the least. It's like he took the idea of protecting your teeth to a whole new level of absurdity. I am a bit surprised that he didn't try to claim his charges were all just an elaborate setup done by Big Toothpaste to smear his name and shut him up. He sounds like the poster child for bad advice and even worse decision-making. I can definitely see why he was your best friend.
You know, all in all, Gatewood was actually a pretty cool dude, man. He was one of the most normal people in there. Especially, well, the trustee pod was more normal people. It was like the good people in the jail, but he was like more normal, not just a good inmate, right? But when I got fired from my job in the kitchen, I couldn't be in the trustee pod anymore. And so I got moved over to general population. And there I met this guy, everybody called him Smeet, and he was one of my cellies. It was like an open dorm, which I always thought was super wild. You know, 2 bunks for each cell, so like 4 people in each cell, and you would have all of your stuff like in this locker. You know, it's supposed to make it to where you don't have any weapons and stuff, but like these are locks like regular like combination school locks. And everybody was given tube socks. Like straight up, dude, you just had a combination lock and tube socks all the time with you at everybody's cell. Either way, we always thought that was a bit of a security concern, but I never saw anybody beaten with a lock, nor did I ever hear about it. But I just know that that's just gonna happen one day. I swear though, Smeet was probably one of the biggest goobers that. Up to that point, he was the biggest goober I'd ever met. I kind of think that Sean is more of a goober, but Smeet is definitely a very close second, and he was the number 1 before I ever met Sean. But Sean's a whole nother story. But Smeet, he was kind of short, a little bit husky, but it's not what I would actually call like a chubby or chunky kid. But yeah, he was only 17, so he had a real baby face and honestly had a lot to compensate for. So the worst one is that he'd do karate kicks and other like karate practice stuff like in the cell so everyone could see him. Remember, it's, you know, it didn't have any of the closed door, it's an open dorm, so like you're standing in your cell area, people can see you from all across the pod. And I remember one time he even asked for a crowd together. Oh my god. He asked for a crowd together so he could show everyone his like cool karate moves and stuff. And you know, that worked out about as well as you would expect. Showing a bunch of karate moves to a bunch of like, you know, adult criminals. Everyone made fun of him like even more than they already did. And that's why he was referred to only by his nicknames. And it was Smeet, Sis, or the combo, which was Sicily Smeet. I really got a kick out of that one, old Sicily Smeet. So he was called Smeet because he was always overcompensating for things. So obviously he has a small meat. So naturally call him Smeet. And then people would call him Sis because, you know, it's short for sissy. He wasn't actually tough, nor would he actually ever do anything. And so people just, you know, knew he was a bit of a sissy, so Sis. I'll say this, you know, he had a really hard time while he was in there, but he did no favors to himself, and honestly, I think he did most of it to himself.
Paul Smeet. It sounds like he was just trying to find his place in a world where normal is a relative term. Though I must say, his choice of self-expression through karate kicks in a cell block is unconventional, to say the least. His struggle is a cautionary tale of misplaced bravado and overestimating one's abilities. Hopefully you learned something from witnessing his failures.
Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow.